Hi guys, my name is Hui Huang and you guys can also call me Charlene. Today I want to introduce my startup company, which is a smart early education platform for children, and it's called Tiny Spark. And this is my list of content of my startup company. The name of my startup is called Tiny Spark, which is a smart early education platform that combines AI and data analysis to help parents and educators understand children's development and offer personalized experience for them. Every child care center can use Tiny Spark for better education. Nowadays, Australia's early childhood education sector is currently facing several challenges. The first one is lack of personalized learning. Most childcare centers use generic programs that don't adapt to individual children's learning style. The second one is digital literacy gap. Many early learners in lower socioeconomic or rural areas have limited exposure to digital learning tools. The third one is fragmented communication. Communication between parents, educator, and administrator is often limited and efficiency or out of date. The last one is adequate data for early intervention. Educator lack real-time data and insight to identify developmental delay or learning issue early. This issue lead to different levels of readiness for school among different children, thus widening long-term education gap. TinySpa offers an AI-powered early learning platform that combines the first one is personalized learning journeys. TinySpa uses AI to assess a child's learning style, progress, and interest. TinySpa tailors daily learning activity to each child. The second one is gamified bilingual digital modules. These parts are designed by early education experts. These modules promote foundation literacy, numeracy, and digital skill in an engaging way. The third one is real-time reporting for parents and educators. The app gives instant insight into a child's development and flags any potential delay for further attention. The next one is offline first capability. TinySpa support rural and lower connectivity environment by syncing data when a connection is available. The final one is parents engaged toolkits. TinySpot will send simple at-home activities, progress update, and development milestone via SMS or app notifications in multiple languages. This holistic approach ensures every child, regardless of background, gets a head start in their learning journey. The reason why TinySpark is better by comparison with two top EdTech platforms. The first one is StoryPark. StoryPark is a well-known platform in the region of New Zealand and Australia, which focus on documenting children's learning story and facilitating communication between teachers and parents. The Early Childhood Education Center where I work used the StoryPod too, but it has few limitations. The first one is function more like a digital scrapbook or documentation tool, not a learning or intervention platform. Each document needs to operate and fill up the content related to children by themselves. The next one is require manual content upload by teachers, increasing our workload. For example, we need to upload the photos and content by ourselves, but we only have time to do it when we are free. The final one is StoryPod has no real-time learning analysis or personalized content delivery. However, compare with StoryPod. TinySpark can use AI automatically generate child learning profile and reduce administrative burden. For example, after a child completes a digital story activity, TinySpark automatically generates a summary for parents and teachers. No extra typing required. The next one is TinySpark offers structured learning content and detailed progress reports, not just story sharing. For example, an educator can assign language milestone 1 and track the child's progress toward expressive language development using built-in modules. The final one is TinySpark focus on teaching and learning, not just documenting. For example, TinySpark check how a child interacts with a shape-solving game, and suggest target activity to improve spatial reasoning. And the second EdTech platform I want to compare is Brightwell. Brightwell is a popular management tool for childcare center and preschool in America. It offers features like attendance tracking, parent communication, and basic learning logs. However, this platform also has some limitations. First of all, Brightwell lacks AI-driven personalized learning models. Secondly, Brightwell also have multilingual support, which is challenging for Australia's diverse cultural communities. Furthermore, Brightwell online-only functionality cannot be used without a stable internet connection. Compared with this, TinySpark can provide truly AI-based personalized learning path which tailor to each child. And then, TinySpark can also offer multilingual support including English, Mandarin, Cantonese, and so on, which help non-English-speaking family engage effectively. And then, TinySpark offline features make it accessible even in remote or lower connectivity area. For example, in scenario 1, personalized learning, Brightwell can help like a teacher observe that a child called Mia is developing strong counting skill. The platform allows recording this, but doesn't provide suggestion or next step. But TinySpark can do it properly. Detects Mia's pattern in number recognition and recommends EYLF aligned math activity. For example, number games, sorting objects, and so on, and automatically track progress. While Brightwell is a strong administrative platform, TinySpark focuses on learning, growth, and developmental insight, which use AI to deliver a more personalized and impactful early education experience for every child. At the same time, TinySpark need to follow the Australian regulatory framework, including the National Quality Framework, Australian Privacy Principle, which is Privacy Act 1988, the Education and Care Services National Law and Regulations, and the final one is Children's E-Safety Law. In this topic, we will talk about how does TinySpark comply with the regulatory framework. TinySpark is fully committed to operating within Australia's legal and regulatory environment. The platform is built with regulatory compliance embedded into its core product design, operations, and data handling process. The regulation that TinySpark need to follow is National Quality Framework. The first, why TinySpark is relevant. TinySpark operates in the early childhood education sector and supports learning outcome. And how TinySpark compliance. First, curriculum content is designed in alignment with the EYLF, which is Early Years Learning Framework. Secondly, AI-generated learning paths are mapped to key EYLF developmental areas, which is identity, communications, well-being, learning, and community. Third, educators can use TinySpark Analyze to support Quality Area 1, which is Educational Program and Practice, and Quality Area 7, which is Governance and Leadership from the NQS. For example, a learning module on social interaction supports the EYLF outcome. Children are connected with and contribute to their worlds. Next, let's talk about the regulation related to TinySpot 2, which is Australian Privacy Principle, the Privacy Act 1988. The reason why TinySpot relevant because TinySpot collects and processes personal and sensitive information for children and families. And how TinySpot compliance. First, consent-based data collection. Parents or guardians must provide explicit consent before any data is collected. Second, data minimization. Only collect what is necessary for learning insight. Then, data security. Encrypted storage, secure cloud infrastructure, and strict access control. Finally, parental access and control. Parents can view, edit, or delete their children's data at any time in TinySpark. For example, face or voice data from learning activity are used only with the consent. And then, the regulation that related to TinySpark including education and care services national law and regulation. The reason why TinySpark relevant because TinySpark may be implemented within regulated early learning services and how TinySpark compliance. First, TinySpark designed to assist services in meeting their documentation, assessment, and planning obligation under the national law. Secondly, TinySpark generates the developmental reports that educators can use in quality improvement plans. Thirdly, all content of TinySpark is age appropriate and supports educator planning as per Regulation 74 to 76. For example, educator can use TinySpark report during parents meeting or assessment cycle. And later, we can introduce one more regulation that related to TinySpark, which is Children's e-safety law. The reason why TinySpark relevant because TinySpark includes children facing interactive feature and potential parents-child communication. And how TinySpark compliance. First of all online interactions are monitored, secure, and corporate aligned. Secondly, no open messaging between children and others in TinySpark. Thirdly, content moderation, screen time limits, and anti-grooming safety protocol are in place. Finally, TinySpark includes child-friendly digital citizenship tool to align with e-safety education priorities. For example, a child cannot share images or send messages through the app without teacher and parents' oversight. In conclusion, TinySpark is an AI-powered early education platform aimed at transforming the way younger children learn, develop, and engage with their educators and families. It addresses major challenges in Australia's early childhood education sector, such as the lack of personalized learning, limited digital access in rural areas, fragmented communication, and the absence of real-time data to support early intervention. TinySpark offers tailored learning journey using AI, gamifying bilingual content available in English, Mandarin, Cantonese, and so on, offline functionality for lower connectivity regions, and real-time developmental insight for educators and parents. Families receive regular updates and suggested at-home activity in their preferred language, promoting stronger engagement. Unlike other platforms like Storypod and Brightville, which focus on documentation or administration, TinySpark centers on personalized learning, smart analysis, and developmental support, which help educators teach more effectively and reduce their manual workload. In addition to its innovative features, TinySpark is built with full compliance to Australia legal and educational standards. It's aligned with the National Quality Framework and EYLF, which is Early Years Learning Framework, adhere to the Australian privacy principle under the Privacy Act 1988, support obligation under the Education and Care Services National Law and Regulations, and meet the requirements of Children's e-safety law. With built-in data protection, content moderation, and parental control features, TinySpark ensures a safe, inclusive, and high-quality learning environment. By combining technology with pedagogy, TinySpark empower every child, regardless of different background, to thread in their early learning journey and be better prepared for school and life. Thanks for your listening. And this is my reference list. Thank you.